Joe Rogan had some things to say recently. He says that Ukraine is responsible for the Ukraine war and that they are going to cause World War III if they don't stop. I mean, you cannot make this up. Listen to what he had to say here. This is nuts.
The world we're living in now, and that's LA, and that's New York, and that's a lot of places that got up by incompetent people.
I don't know. I just feel,
dude, I love New York. What are you talking about? New York City's the best. Yeah, there are corrupt scumbags in office, of course, there always are. But what's he complaining about?
for knowing, like,
Pull this microphone.
I feel safer knowing that Trump is in office.
I do too.
I feel great about it. Like, I just,
What are these people smoking?
What I don't feel safer is right now they're launching missiles into Russia.
Yeah.
How are you allowed to do that when you're on the way out? Like, the people don't want you to be there anymore.
Bro, you think that Biden is doing that? You think Biden is one launching missiles into Russia or whatever? First of all, and second, who does he think started the Ukraine war? Who does he think lined their troops up on the border?
Be like some sort of a pause for like significant actions that could potentially start World War III. Maybe that would be a good thing that we would like to avoid from.
I wonder if he felt the same way when Trump was on his way out the door. Do you think he cared about that? No, I mean, the president's elected for 4 years. The president has the right to and should be able to make decisions for the whole 4 years. There isn't like a pause period there. It's like Obama, Scalia died when Obama was in office, the Supreme Court justice, and Mitch McConnell kept the position open for like a year or something. And he said, the people should decide. The people decided. They decided when they elected Obama.
A dying former president.
Mm-hmm.
It's the whole thing is nuts.
I mean, look, I don't know about politics.
Zelensky says Putin is terrified. You, man.
Dude, how did we get here? I mean, Zelensky was viewed as a massive hero, and in my opinion, is a massive hero. But Russian propaganda slowly but surely ate away at the public perception of Ukraine. And now everybody in America, or a lot of people at least, can't stand Ukraine. This blows my mind. There were people just a few years ago willing to go fight Russia on Ukraine's behalf. And over the course of 3 years, or however many, somehow now, like, Russia is the innocent one. Ukraine is to blame for all this. How did we get here?
You people. You people are about to start World War III.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Because they're defending themselves? Are you shitting me?
Russia fired a missile today.
They fired an intercontinental ballistic missile for the first time ever.
An ICBM, yeah, I heard about this. Russia was talking about launching a nuke at the United States, because he always does that. Putin does. It's constant. Always talking about launching nukes at the U.S., launching nukes. If he launched a nuke, then Russia would be destroyed instantaneously. Everything would be destroyed. Everybody knows that that's not going to happen. Now, Putin might survive it, but I believe that Putin has cancer. I could be wrong on that, so double check me, but he's kind of, he's got like 1 foot in a grave, one on a banana peel at this point. First of all, I can't imagine Putin's going to be in power for much longer. And second, I seriously doubt he's going to launch a nuke. But he knows that his fear tactics don't work on anybody anymore, because everyone knows he's not going to do that. So he ramps it up. He's probably got a whole set of things that he intends to do to ramp it up more and more and more. Next thing he's going to do is launch an ICBM into Ukraine, right? That's what he did. Because an ICBM is what you would put a nuclear warhead on to reach the United States or whatever. He just wants to scare the shit out of people. Putin is just a colossal scumbag, is the bottom line. I'll try to avoid any windows in the near future.
It's the first time one of those has ever been used.
That's insanity.
Insanity, because those intercontinental ballistic missiles can have nukes on them. This one didn't.
Yeah, and whose fault is this? Who did this?
But if it does, the whole world changes, and it changes because of the military-industrial complex, and it changes because of the money that's going to Ukraine, and it changes because the outgoing president or whoever the is actually running the country has decided to do something insane.
Wow. Is he buying into the conspiracy theory that Biden isn't actually in control? This guy used to be interesting. He used to be pretty decent. He used to have some interesting conversations. I mean, he was kind of right-leaning, but it wasn't, far right. And he was also like, he had some progressive ideas. I mean, I think he was like a Bernie Sanders supporter in 2016 or something like that. He had Bernie Sanders on to talk to him. And slowly but surely, you can watch him move further and further and further right. So, who does he think is to blame in this situation? Ukraine was sitting there minding their own business, and Russia lined, what was it, 200,000 troops or something? Lined up like 200,000 troops on the Ukrainian border and invaded full force, full scale invasion. Putin started out by saying it was going to be like a 2-week operation or something. He's just going to waltz right in and take everything. Because apparently he delusionally believed that people were pro-Russia in Ukraine, that they loved Russia. They wanted to be under like a dictator's rule or something. He thought it was going to be easy to go in, but nobody wanted him there. They started, I mean, I'm just putting all this on record because, obviously people are being gaslit into misremembering the entire process and what happened. They started broadcasting instructions to make Molotov cocktails on the radio in Ukraine. You know how hard it is to hold a city that is not friendly to you, whose civilian population hates you? It's not easy. Russia has lost territory that they took because the civilians were so opposed to their control. So anyway, Putin thought it was going to be quick and easy, like me, but it wasn't. He has a fight on his hands, and now people are fighting back, and Joe Rogan says, "Why are you fighting back? You're going to cause World War III. You've got to be shitting me with this." I'll tell you what really happened. An imperialistic country decided that they wanted to take more land. They wanted to take more territory, so they marched troops in to claim territory that is already controlled by a sovereign democratic government that is friendly to NATO, basically. Marched their asses in there and took it. That's what happened. And you're blaming the country who's being invaded. Really? What is wrong with you? And you know what? Even if I didn't support Ukraine in this whole scenario, which I do, but even if I didn't, I sure as would not support Putin. Oh my God, Putin is a monster. Anybody that's critical of him in any position of power at all falls out a window at an inopportune moment. And that's very intentional, trying to send a message. He doesn't just want to kill people, just pull the trigger publicly, put them through a trial or something. He doesn't want to do that. He wants everybody to wonder what happened to them and see 15, 20, 100, 1,000 people at the top of society. I think it happened to a ballet dancer recently. He wants people to watch them die one by one if they oppose him. That's disturbing. How can you possibly support anything that Russia does? Anything.
Do something f***ing insane.
Yeah,
F***ing insane. And we're all sitting there watching it, and people are cheering it on.
I mean, I'm not happy about a war. I want it to end. What are you talking about? I just don't want Putin to get away with invading a sovereign territory that is a democracy and taking it over as a dictator. I want fewer dictatorships, more democracies. You know why? Democracies across the world have better literacy rates, better standards of living, higher living wages or higher wages overall, higher GDPs, more success, fewer homeless, fewer poor, fewer, disabled people suffering terribly. Democracy is not perfect, but it is the absolute best system that we have out of the choices right now. That's why I want democracy. I can't believe I'm sitting here arguing this. What is wrong with Rogan? What happened to him?
On. CNN was saying, like, finally, see what their headline was about Zelensky about Biden giving Zelensky the ability to use long-range missiles. U.S. made long-range. It's not like nobody knows where they came from. It's not like nobody knows.
No, I mean, the United States produces weaponry and missiles and stuff for the whole world, practically. I mean, there are countries that are oppositional to the United States that have our guns. Maybe not with our permission necessarily, but they do. The United States and the Soviet Union historically produced the two most common weapons that were used. I think the weapon that's used most commonly in military is the M16 for the United States or for Western governments. It's like an AR-15 that's been modded out to be fully automatic. And then I'm not sure what Russia's using now, but at least in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, I think they're using Kalashnikovs. And the Soviet Union was arming different like groups within the Middle East, and the United States was arming other groups. So it was like a proxy war. We were funding the jihad. We were funding Osama bin Laden. We were giving him money and guns. The Mujahideen, we were funding it because they were fighting Russia, who was trying to come in and take that territory. It's a proxy war. Anyway, the point is that a ton of different countries use U.S. weapons and stuff. Ukraine makes food. They produce wheat and things, the world's breadbasket or whatever, Europe's breadbasket, and the United States makes weaponry. Of course.
We've been funding this. It's a proxy war. The whole thing is fucking insane. It's insane.
You know what? I'm curious now. What kind of guns are most common in the military today? Hold on. Let's find out. Just loaded up my question gun. Let's go answer hunting. What is the most common gun in military world? The Soviet AK-47 and the American M16 are the two most common weapons in use today in militaries. Key points about the AK-47. Is the AK-47 Russian? Which country invented the AK-47? The auto search popped up. Which country invented ice cream? That's funny. And now I'm curious. Yeah, AK-47 is Russian. It's Soviet. I didn't know that. That's the Kalashnikov, the AK-47. That's interesting. They also invented the AK-74 in 1974. It was invented by Mikhail Kalashnikov. That's probably why it got its name. Anyway, now for the real answers. China invented ice cream, if you were curious. China. 618 to 907 CE. 618 to 907 CE. So like 1,500 years ago, basically. 1,500 years ago. Wow. How did they keep it cold? I guess they could only make it in the winter.
Come to the negotiation table. Sit down. Work.
Come to the negotiation table. Hey, Jagoff. He's been trying. Everyone's been trying to come to the negotiation table. Putin just wants Ukraine. He just wants to take it. Like, what happens if, I don't know, just hypothetically, just imagine a scenario with me in which Russia comes over the Bering Strait. Is that still a thing? That little land bridge between Russia and Alaska? Maybe that's from a long time ago. Anyway, they come over that little area and they invade Alaska and claim Alaska as theirs. Imagine that for a moment. Now, what would you do? Come to the negotiating table, America. Stop launching nukes. Stop launching missiles into Alaska to take it back and force the Russians out. You're going to start World War III if you keep launching missiles at the Russians in Alaska. That is what's happening right now. That is a one-to-one comparison. They're trying to take back the Donetsk and the Luhansk regions, which are owned by Ukraine. They're trying to take those regions back and, fighting for them, sending men in, launching missiles over the border and everything. And Putin refuses to give Alaska back. Starts launching intercontinental ballistic missiles into Washington state because you won't let him have Alaska. That is what's happening. I just want to draw this out for you.
This out. Stop killing everybody. U.S. allows Ukraine to use long-range missiles. So what did they say? Someone had said that CNN was saying that it was a good thing, which I think is how has the left gone so far crazy that
the left has not gone anywhere. That's the problem. Joe has gone completely into La La Land. He's not even reality with us anymore. He's a full-blown QAnoner at this point. How has the left gone so far as to support military action to protect Alaska? That's what he's saying effectively. I can't believe the left is trying to protect Alaska.
they think it's a good thing to launch missiles.
Just
That's what's scary about life is like you don't want to pay attention to that. You just want to live your life. You want to just be carefree and have fun and do the thing that you're passionate about.
Yeah, 100%. How many Ukrainians can do that now? Because Putin invaded. Significantly fewer.
Meanwhile, the world is burning. And
You
just
can't do
hoping
anything
doesn't
about it.
get
It's
to you.
at that high level, it's like there's nothing.
Well, we can. We voted Trump in, and
Yeah,
his idea is to stop all it, and hopefully.
Oh, great. Well, is he going to tell us how? Because he's been saying that he could do it. The moment he gets into office, he can do it. What's he going to do? Nothing. The answer is nothing. He's going to stop sending any aid to Ukraine whatsoever, and he's going to let a former Soviet Union KGB agent claim new territory and grow the region that he controls. Putin is a KGB agent that wrote like a 9-page essay or something forever ago about how much of a disaster it was that the Soviet Union broke up. It was like the biggest disaster of the 20th century is what he called it. I mean, I would have gone with concentration camps in Germany, but okay, yeah, Soviet Union breakup, I suppose, is a choice. He's trying to rejoin the Soviet Union, right? That's obvious. Trump is going to enable him to do that. He's going to allow Putin to take control of these regions, and he's going to stop helping the regions fight against him. How can you possibly be for that? Where is the Red Scare when you need it? They're always talking about like communism and socialism, and that's straight out of the Red Scare. How did we get to the point where the far right now supports Russia? There are actually Trump supporters that moved to Russia, that fled to Belarus. Like January 6th rioters fled to Belarus instead of facing their charges. How did we get here? This is wild.
He can do that.
Yeah.
But, man. We got 60 more days until Trump gets in or whatever it is. How many days is it, Jamie?
20th?
But who knows? Maybe once he gets in, they'll ramp it up. Who knows? Maybe they'll sabotage his administration. That's what
They? Who the is they? Who is sabotaging Trump's administration? You're seeing what he's doing here, right? He's creating an out for Trump. When he everything up and makes it all worse, or doesn't fix anything at all, as he's going to do, he's just going to let it play out. He's going to stop giving any money at all to Ukraine or anybody else, and he's just going to let Russia reclaim parts of the Soviet Union. When that happens, Joe Rogan's going to claim, well, they sabotaged Trump. They sabotaged his ability to make deals or whatever other. When things go bad, he's going to blame everybody except for Trump. This is wild. What happened to him?
That's what's even more scary. People don't want him in power. And the people that are in power don't want to leave power, and they'll try every way they can to keep it. 60 days from today.
Dude, he's got problems, seriously. 60 days. So when was it? This must have been like November 20th then, or somewhere in there.
All right.
On the nose.
60 days.
Keep your fingers crossed.
Yeah. Just hope Putin understands what's going on as well, and Zelensky doesn't do anything stupid. But saying that Putin's terrified, God damn it.
It's like you're trying to like tug the tail of a sleeping
Dragon.
Dragons.
Yeah. Also, Zelensky, can I get a drug test?
What does that have to do with, what are you talking about? A drug test? What? Anyway, just for the record, like, I want to show you what's going on here. Like, I want to draw this out for you. This is Nick Fuentes I have on screen here. Back in the 1930s, there was a propaganda campaign to support Germany, basically. But it was unfashionable to openly, outwardly support Germany. So they started what they called the America First political party. And the goal was to discourage America from entering into World War II. They knew that the America First party leaders, they knew that if America entered World War II, it would end badly for Germany. But they were very clearly on adversarial footing with the Axis powers, with Japan and Germany and Italy and the others. So they couldn't openly say, I don't want you to go to war with Germany. I support what they're doing, because that would have been treasonous or whatever. Because, I don't think we hadn't declared war, so technically not treason, but it's this close to treason to do that. So Instead, they just said, let's not get involved in World War II. Let's stay out completely. The America First Party, and they famously held a gigantic rally at Madison Square Garden. It's a famous picture of it, and I think they even had swastikas up. The America First Party did. Hang on, Madison Square Garden, America First Party. Here's the rally right here, a picture of it. Here's another picture. Yeah, real big rally. Anyway, so the America First Party, that's where it started, and now we have the America First Party siding with dictatorship and right-wing extremism once again. Nick Fuentes, leader of the America First Party.
That's what we call the secret ingredient. America and the world has forgotten about them,
I'm talking about incels, basically.
but not us. You know, they say about America, they say diversity is our strength. You know,
It absolutely is.
and I look at China and I look at Russia. Who can we give a round of applause for Russia? Yes. Absolutely, absolutely. But I take a look around.
That is a wild thing for him to say. He's openly supporting Russia and Putin. He's a dictator. What are you proud of? And by the way, this video came out, when did this come out? February 25th, 2022 is when this came out. Hold on. This is literally like 5 days after the Ukraine war started. 5 days or something after Putin entered Ukraine with ground troops. And they're doing this. This is wild. This is where it started. This is where the support for Putin started, with a party of neo-Nazis. Self-avowed, he says it, I am a Nazi, I love Hitler, quote unquote. It started with Nazis. Just listen a little more of this.
But I take a look around the world. I look at Russia. I look at China. China, they're editing their babies to be smarter,
No, they're not. They're not doing that.
stronger, faster.
There was one news story of some guy that supposedly tried to do that and got arrested and went to jail for it in China because it's illegal.
Russia, they're invading countries. They took out the whole Ukrainian.
Whole Ukrainian what? They hadn't taken out anything. This is proving my point right here. Nazis support Putin's attack on Ukraine. Right-wing extremists support Putin. They have this whole time.
But I rest easy at night knowing that America has diversity.
Was he saying that China is better than the United States, superior, because they're homogenous? This is what I'm talking about. White nationalist, Christian nationalist, Nazi. Anyway, back to Joe Rogan. He's super into boxing and MMA and whatever other thing. Well, this is a famous Ukrainian boxer. So if anyone's going to get through to Rogan, hopefully this guy, right? He responded to him.
Joe Rogan, I listened to your latest podcast. I'm sending you this video to let you know that I disagree. You talk about these American weapons being sent to Ukraine, which you believe will lead to the Third World War. So, let me tell you that you're repeating Russian propaganda.
Absolutely.
Putin's Russia is in trouble, so they want to scare you and people like you.
Yeah, I don't think the Ukraine war is going particularly well for Russia right now. I saw figures that said, I believe that they've lost 40% of their tanks. A lot of people think that pushing the line forward is done with bodies, with people, with weapons moving forward. That's not how lines are shifted. It's with artillery. It's with tanks or mobile, grenadiers, for example. People carrying little rocket launchers and things like that. That's how the lines are moved forward. And everybody else is just there, all of the infantry, they're just there to support the tanks and stuff and to maintain positions that they've already taken. The fact that Putin lost 40% of his tanks or something like that is a big deal. The United States has been supporting Ukraine. They've been giving them weaponry and all kinds of stuff. And here's the thing about it. You might not want to have a problem with Russia. You might want to be friendly with them. I get that. But they don't want to be friendly with us. Putin does not like the United States. Again, the guy views the fall of the Soviet Union as the worst thing to happen in the 20th century. He is doing and will continue to do anything that he can to undermine the American political system, to undermine democracy, to create division, and to make things worse, to cause chaos in the United States. Putin will do that, as he has been this whole time. So you like Putin all you want. He does not like you, is my point. Now, he's a historical adversary. Russia is. The Soviet Union is. And it's an adversary that doesn't like us. So it serves us to challenge that world power, or that supposed world power. It serves us to show the world that they are not as powerful as they wanted everybody to think. And to make things even better, we aren't putting a single American life at risk by challenging this historical adversary. I don't want war. I'm a pacifist. But this war found the Ukrainians, and I hope they continue to fight it. So we're challenging a historical adversary, and we're not losing a single American life to do so. No American boots on the ground. And on top of that, we're sending our military gear to Ukraine to use, which means, A, it's tested in the field, which is, you can't beat that. Testing things in the field, working out all of the bugs and all of that, that's fantastic. And we have to replace our gear about every 5 years anyway. Like, what do we do with all that? What do we do with all of the helmets, the blankets, the guns, the everythings that we have to replace with new updated stuff? What do we do with that? Throw it away. Try to sell it to smaller countries or whatever. I think something like half of the aid that we're sending to Ukraine is sent in the form of just old guns and helmets and weaponry and stuff, old Javelin missiles. This couldn't possibly be a better situation for the United States. Humiliating and undermining a historical adversary that views himself as a world power on the world stage, and replenishing our stockpiles for the military while we're at it. This is a win-win situation. As long as Putin wages this war, we might as well get something good out of it. But what do we have here? We've got Joe Rogan arguing that this is bad, like just repeating Russian propaganda. What is wrong with him? Has he not thought this through at all?
In trouble. So they want to scare you and people like you. His war was supposed to last 3 days. It has lasted 3 years, thanks to the heroism and sacrifice of us Ukrainians. So you're using the only weapon that Putin really intends to use.
Yep. He knew that it would be a war of attrition, and Putin will win wars of attrition because he will get his little scumbags to run around and doesn't even necessarily have to be knowing intentional collaborators with Russia. It can just be useful idiots. I don't think that Russia is in communication with Nick Fuentes, for example. I just think he's a little scumbag that works to undermine American interests in favor of dictators, dictatorships around the world. He doesn't want democracy. Nick Fuentes is open about the fact that he wants a dictatorship. So anyway, Putin gets his little scumbags to run around and say all kinds of stupid about how Russia is the best and how Ukraine is going to cause World War III by defending themselves. And that works. I don't know what's happening right now in this moment in time when you're watching this, but not too long ago, a bunch of people were charged by the Department of Justice, 6 influencers, I think, basically for being paid by Russia, by Russian propagandists, by the government of Russia. And they weren't charged. Like Tim Pool, Dave Rubin, Benny Johnson, and some others, 3 others, I think. They were listed as people that were being paid in this scheme by Russia to fund right-wing extremism in the United States. It was all blown wide open not too long ago, and you have little scumbags working for Putin, knowingly or not, saying things like this.
Know it. But I don't know that it matters anymore. This is psychotic. Ukraine is the enemy of this country. Ukraine is our enemy, being funded by the Democrats. I will stress this again. One of the greatest enemies of our nation right now is Ukraine. They are expanding this war. Now, don't get me wrong. I know you've got criminal elements of the U.S. government pushing them and guiding them and telling them what to do.
This is just complete bullshit. Little scumbags working for Putin, knowingly or not. Putin wins wars of attrition because the longer he can draw it out, the more he can get the public on his side. People are outraged by the shit that he does. Disgusted. Pushing people out of windows, invading sovereign countries, imposing dictatorial rules on his people, rigging his elections in Russia. People are outraged by that, but people forget. With enough time, he kind of slowly but surely just works it out of the public consciousness, gets his little army of nutcases like Tim Pool and his bot armies, and starts spreading garbage all over the internet. It's Russian propaganda. You know that Putin, well, I don't know that he coined the phrase, but this phrase was coined as a result of Putin's propaganda method. There's something called fire hose propaganda, the fire hose of falsehoods. Putin invented this propaganda technique in 2014. And it's basically where you know that some things are going to go viral. Some subjects, some ideas, some memes about things are going to go viral. So, for example, what's the anti-Ukraine group going to latch onto? Is it going to be there are biolabs in Ukraine, or is it going to be they're trying to take out Nazis in Ukraine, or they're trying to free the Ukrainian people because they live under a dictatorship? I mean, which propagandistic nonsense is the public going to like the most? You never know. So you spread as many of these propagandistic talking points as possible through as many media networks as you can, through bot armies, through public influencers, through the media, newspaper, print media, video media, whatever else, social media, and you see which ones stick. That's generally been kind of Putin's strategy, the fire hose of falsehoods. And we can see which ones stick the best. Right now, it's Zelensky's going to cause World War III, completely reversing it. Previously, it was biolabs in Ukraine. Complete nonsense. And Putin often mixes in things that, like, the media outlet that he's appealing to will latch on to, like human trafficking for QAnon. In my personal opinion, QAnon is just a Russian node of disinformation. Here's a QAnoner, Delora O'Brien, that immediately after the war started, starts spreading the propaganda. This is one of the fire hoses of falsehood, if you will, one of the vectors.
Right before I came on here, this is what was sent to me. A Russian soldier, I even have his name, and I can't give it. I'm sorry, I can't. Just research it. I'm sure it'll start coming out.
It never came out because it was a lie from Putin.
Searching for bioweapons. There was him and a few of his the other soldiers searching for bioweapons in central Ukraine.
No, they weren't. Another piece of Russian propaganda, just lies.
Stumbled upon a child trafficking den.
And there's the thing that appeals to QAnon specifically. This is the Russian propaganda strategy. You know, Hitler had Joseph Goebbels, his propaganda minister, to do things like this, to spread disinformation like this. Putin is doing it the exact same way, kind of spreading disinformation and propaganda in the same way. And I cannot believe that Joe Rogan fell for this. So I haven't even given this Ukrainian boxer, an opportunity to speak for himself, because I've been trying to prove what he's saying to be true. But just give him a listen. I'll let him talk.
His war was supposed to last 3 days. It has lasted 3 years, thanks to the heroism and sacrifice of us Ukrainians. So you're using the only weapon that Putin really intends to use, propaganda. And this weapon really weakens our democracies.
By the way, I don't want people to think that I'm like saying that Putin is Hitler. I don't believe that. They're two very different people with very different strategies, but they are both dictators, and they do both heavily rely, or did, rely on propaganda to accomplish their goals. So there are a couple similarities.
Putin's Russia wants to destroy Ukraine quietly. They want America to stay quiet, not great, but quiet. A great America is not an America that abandons countries that defend freedom with their lives.
100%. They're defending democracy in Ukraine right now. And they're challenging a historical adversary, and we have an opportunity to replenish our weapons. Seriously, I don't understand why anybody would be opposed to supporting Ukraine in their defensive war.
In short, you see, I have quite a few points of difference. If you invite me on your podcast, we could discuss them like free men.
Yeah, and I bet he's not going to. I mean, this guy's super famous, apparently. He's exactly the type of person that Rogan would have on usually, because Rogan is, of course, super into like MMA and boxing and things. But is he going to invite him on? I would bet money that he isn't. Well, that was the end of it, I guess. Anyway, yeah, just tell me what you think about it in the comments. I'm just blown away that Joe Rogan is such a sucker. The dude is honestly a sucker. He fell for it. I don't think that he's a knowing, I don't think he's a knowing, intentional actor here. Ben Shapiro, absolutely. Charlie Kirk, 100%. Knowing, intentional scumbag setting out to deceive people because he can make money from it or whatever. Scam artist. I don't think that of Joe Rogan. I think that he's just a useful idiot, as the term goes. Tell me what you think in the comments.